Japan is a country full of loads of culture, history, art, and some pretty crazy cool masks. Kind of like these ones up here. And they're called omen, which is a pretty spooky name, so it should be easy to remember, especially around the Halloween season. And so, in this video, I hope to teach you a little bit about the history and background for each of these incredibly notable Japanese masks, where you'll see them just everywhere in Japan. And hopefully by the end of the video, I'll also encourage you to pick one up for yourself. Except this one. I think this one's just plain creepy. And, yeah, you'll see why. But let's get started and unmask some Japanese cultural history. To start everything off, we might as well talk about probably the most notable mask in all of the masks I'll be talking about today, and that is the Kitsune mask. And it's a little bit similar to the Neko mask, so try to make sure that you don't get them confused, because sometimes I see people calling Neko masks Kitsune masks, and that's definitely not the case. You'll see these masks at Japanese festivals, in manga, and anime, in movies based in Japan, and they can be made out of a large variety of different materials. They can be made out of wood sometimes, or paper mache like this one, which is actually pretty strong. So definitely go for this one. I think it's way better than the plastic ones you can buy at different matsuris. But like many of the masks that we're going to be talking about today, this mask actually dates back to the 14th century. In the past, the Kitsune mask was traditionally used in old Japanese plays called Noh, or more specifically, they were used in between the acts of the play in kind of these mini-skits called kyogen. And these kyogen mini-skits typically were a little bit more comical than the actual play itself, the actual Noh play, and they didn't require a stage or much setup, so people would use these masks to kind of help the audience just know what's going on and have a deeper story because they knew a little bit of history or background for each one of the masks. These masks can also be found in a large variety of colors, but most commonly you'll see them in black, white, or gold.
The word kitsune translates to fox, and in Japanese mythology, foxes were said to have a number of different special qualities.
First off, at some point in time, Kitsune actually became associated with the Shinto god Inari. Now, Inari was seen as three primary things in Shintoism. He was seen as the god of fertility, he was seen as the god of agriculture, and he was seen as the god over protection of rice. And so, when you see a lot of Inari shrine gates, the red shrine gates, or you see Inari shrines, you'll often see a lot of Kitsune statues, or fox statues. Yeah, so for those of you who didn't know, those red gates are called Inari shrine gates. And so that means that most of the shrines with Inari shrine gates in front of them are actually shrines to Inari. And it might make it easier to believe, now that you know that over 30% of the shrines in Japan are dedicated to Inari, which means Inari is a pretty big deal. So, yeah, just wanted to bring that up. Okay, back to the video. And I'm mentioning this primarily because Kitsune were associated with two different categories, or they're sorted into two different categories. There were good Kitsune, and these were seen as messengers of Inari, and they were called Zenko, okay? And then you had the bad Kitsune, and these guys would do a whole bunch of stuff that would really mess with people in their lives, and just, they would really do terrible things. And so, these foxes in this category were called Yakko. Kitsune in both categories are said to have access to a large variety of different abilities. They had abilities from generating fire and lightning, to creating illusions, to being able to fly, to being able to manifest dreams, to even being able to possess people. And this was called Kitsune Tsuki, or Fox Moon, if you translate it literally. They also had some other big ability, which was...
Kitsune also had the ability to transform into different things, and even into people. And sometimes they would transform into a person and then marry them and have children with them.
And who are you? They also are said to grow stronger with age and wiser with age, and also stronger with the number of tails that they have, anywhere from 1 to 9 typically, or thousand tale in a couple stories. But a lot of people believe that this whole tale idea is something that was more created in recent culture and wasn't necessarily something that was a big thing in the past as far as Kitsune lore goes. There's also some stuff going around the internet talking about how Kitsune can be separated into 13 subcategories, and although you might see it in some web pages, honestly, I couldn't find any historical evidence to back this up, so I would take it with a grain of salt. So, all in all, Kitsune masks have a load of culture and background loaded into them, and they're pretty cool looking as well. So, I definitely recommend you try one out. But let's move on to mask number 2. So, if you spend enough time in Japan and you go to enough Japanese festivals, then you're going to notice this guy all over the place. This mask is called Hyottoko, and that's basically the name of the character that's behind it. And Hyottoko is really easily recognizable because of his puckered mouth that comes skewed to one side, as well as sometimes his eyes are 2 different sizes, and he also wears this scarf on his head, and it usually wraps around the bottom too, and it's usually white with blue polka dots. The Hyottoko mask is actually representing a god of protection from fire, okay? But more specifically, it's a god of protection from fire used for cooking or for heating the house. So, more specific than that, it's kind of like a god of protection from stove fires or fireplace fires. And when you think about it, I guess in traditional Japanese housing, that would be a ryori fire. Basically, it's kind of like a hearth that was used inside of the middle of the house or inside of the middle of a room for cooking food and making tea, stuff like that. And it would also heat the house. So, if you really think about it, this guy was pretty important. Think about old Japanese housing, where the houses had roofs made out of thatch, literally dry grass. And then they also had a bunch of floors made out of tatami, again, dry woven grass. So, because house fires were such a big deal, this guy, naturally in Japan, has a pretty large responsibility and is also a pretty big deal. His name is said to derive from the term Hyottoko, and that's because his character is someone that would be using a bamboo pipe to blow into the fire in the hearth. So you can see his mouth is skewed almost like it's ready to blow into bamboo. And Hyottoko translates to he being fire and otoko being man, so fireman. Another interesting idea for where his name originated from is hitokuri. And hitokuri translates to fire decanter. So it kind of also looks like he might be a little bit under the influence of some alcohol. And also, like, this could be him drinking out of a fire decanter, which technically a decanter is a little bit different than like a bottle of sake. But anyway, out of those 2 theories, I tend to lean more towards the first one. But again, they're both just theories for where the name could have originated from.
This mask, like the Kitsune mask, was also used in Kyogen, and this mask has become a stock character in Japan, which basically just means that the character is almost always associated with a certain set of stereotypical traits. And so, this mask is associated with a comical Japanese character.
In the past, and even today, this mask, as well as some others, are used in kagura. And kagura are traditional Shinto dances that typically are performed at temples at different times of the year. And these dances are meant to entertain and sometimes even summon some gods into the presence of the dance.
The Hyottoko mask is famously used in a number of different traditional dances in Japan, like the Izumo Yasugibushi, that's right, that one, and also in the Dengaku, and probably the most famous Hyottoko dance being the Hyuga Hyottoko Natsu Matsuri, which takes place in Miyazaki Prefecture on the first Saturday of August every year.
Also, long ago when Hyottoko first started appearing in literature and also in Japanese theater, he was closely associated with another one of our masks, which I'll talk about next. So let's move on to mask number 3. This mask is called Okame, and Okame can be recognized by a number of different things. So this mask is supposed to represent an ancient Japanese female with a white, round face, with a wide forehead, with a long nose, and also sometimes, if you look at older Okame masks, or you find an Okame figure, sometimes you'll see them with black teeth, and believe me, they are really creepy. Also, like I mentioned just a minute ago when I was talking about Hyottoko, this mask right here, Okame, is sometimes associated with Hyottoko, and that's because they actually have a lot of things in common. Both characters have become stock characters. Like I mentioned before, Hyottoko is supposed to be a comical Japanese character, and this one is supposed to represent a fat, happy woman, which for a long time has been believed to ward off bad spirits. And also, just kind of on a side note, this character has gotten associated with less PG humor, if you know what I'm saying, and eventually a Zen master named Hakuin Ekaku, he identified her as a prostitute, which was ugly but captivating at the same time. So, do with that information what you will. But both these characters, Okame and Hyottoko, are associated with plays, and Okame is believed to have come from Amano Uzume, which, according to Japanese folklore, is Japan's oldest dancer. And if you watched some of the early theater plays, you may even think that she's Hyotoko's husband, but at the very best, they're just a couple and nothing more. Sometimes you'll see people claiming that they are married, and that's not true. Believe me, I talked with some of the Japanese friends I have here as well as looked into it myself, so there's that. And together, Okame and Hyottoko are believed to bring happiness to people's families, so they're often paired together.
She also has a few other names. So she's been called Okame, and this is usually used in plays when the actors have a role like a clown or entertainer, because I am also entertaining. And also, she's been called Otafuku, which literally translates to a lot of good fortune. And I'm considered to be a lucky charm for good business and happy couples. I've also been called Ofuku, like Okame. It's for actors when they want to be in the role of a clown, because again, I'm so entertaining. In addition, she also is called, or I'm also called, Otokoze, or Oto, and this is usually used when the role involves an ugly woman who's run out of the town by those awful men. It's usually paired with another role of a pretty woman, but as you can see, I'm beautiful. And speaking of beautiful women like myself, let's move on to mask number 4.
Okay, and so for mask number 4, I physically don't own this one yet. Honestly, I want to buy it. I want to pick one up, and I will in the future. But for right now, I'm going to have to show you guys this picture. This is a Hannya mask, okay? And Hannya literally translates to wisdom in Japanese. And the earliest Hannya mask can be dated back to 1558. And probably the most important thing that you need to know, both right now and in this video in general, is out of the 4 of these masks, this one is my personal favorite. I really like this one. I really want to pick one up for myself. And so, I also want to hear from you guys, which one of these masks is your favorite? Tell me which is your favorite and why, and you know what, it might be really fun to see like an order, like which one you think is the most favorite, second most favorite, third, and which one's your least favorite. Just leave that in the comments for me. I honestly would love to see it, and I'll comment on any comment that's put on this video. Anyway, Hannya masks feature a leering mouth, somber metallic eyes, sharp fang-like teeth, and 2 devil-style horns. And this mask probably has the coolest background out of all 4, as far as I'm concerned. So this mask, just like these other 3, was also used in Noh theater. And this mask in particular was used to depict a woman who has become so overwhelmed with sorrow, envy, and rage that she becomes a demon, dragon, or serpent. Usually this emotional response comes from when the woman interacts with their husband or some other loved character. And if you're watching something like a Noh play or a movie, sometimes this can be a complete dead giveaway to some of the later plot. Like, if you're watching One Piece... Never mind. If you know, you know. So this mask actually represents a very wide range of complex human emotions. And it starts off with like just the rage and anger of a female, and it goes to this demonic and frighteningly dangerous anger. And at the same time, it's supposed to be representing a person that their heart is being overwhelmed with sorrow and it's being tormented by betrayal. And so, because this mask represents such a wide range of emotions, there's this thing that artists try to attempt to do with the mask that creates a cool effect when an actor is trying to convey different emotions at different times in a Noh play. And you can see this with a number of other masks, but I think this one does it best. So depending on the angle the physical mask is being held, the expression just will ever so slightly seem to change. So when the mask is held straight ahead, it looks angry. When the mask is held just a little bit down, it starts to look sad. And while I love the idea of just using the angle and just the positioning of the mask to change expression, and I love it with this particular mask, it is something that's used very commonly in Noh theater with a number of other masks. I just, again, think that this one does it the best. In addition, traditionally, there's 3 different types of Hannya masks, and they're represented by the color of the mask. So, a white Hannya mask represents a woman of nobility, a woman that never had to go out into the sun because she was already from a noble family and didn't have to work out in the sun. Then there was the second type of mask, which was just a light red. So it was just barely a little bit red, and it's supposed to represent women who had to go out into the fields and women who had to go outside and work in the sun, and so their skin would just be ever so tanned. And basically this was supposed to represent peasants or commoners. And then there was the third type of mask, and this one had a dark red color. Sometimes it almost looks black because of how dark red it is. And these masks were supposed to represent demons, or demons that had taken on the figure of a woman. So they basically just looked like women to other people. And that's how you can kind of tell what these characters were supposed to be inside of the Noh theater. Today, Hannya masks are seen as providing good luck to the people that own them, and also they're seen as a way to ward off evil. In addition, like I mentioned before, the Hannya mask is considered to be the most noticeable or recognizable Noh mask out of all of them, which I know that you guys have probably seen a lot of these, but if you think about it, the Noh mask, it's probably in way more tattoos than any of these guys. But that's just, you know, a quick speculation. So, out of these 4 masks, which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comments and maybe put a ranking system like, oh, I think the Hannya is number 1, Kitsune number 2, or maybe you think Kitsune is number 1, Hannya is number 2. I think these guys are probably going to be 3rd and 4th very often. I really don't like this one, it's kind of creepy. And if you wanted to learn more about the Tengu mask, I was going to incorporate it into this video. But when I started researching it, I realized that there is a lot of information about Tengu, and so in the future, I'll probably make a dedicated video for that. We'll see how much time I have. I've been pretty busy lately. But in addition to that, maybe if you're interested, you want to learn more about why in Japanese history, women would dye their teeth jet black, kind of like the Okame mask that I showed you earlier. And also, if you wanted to see that, you can click up here in the top corner. It's going to be, maybe it's in this corner, okay? I'm not sure, because when I upload this video, it's going to flip everything, and I'm not sure which side it's going to be on. I'm always pointing at the wrong corner. But up here, when that video is posted, I'll have it there. And also, if you wanted to learn more about probably the coolest samurai or daimyo in history, check out this video I made about Date Masamune. Literally, he's super awesome. And if you're not interested in maybe he's on this side, I don't know. But if you're not interested in Date Masamune, why not check out this video that YouTube thinks that you're going to like a lot. They seem to want to recommend it to you. But maybe you could actually just watch both and see if my recommendation or YouTube's recommendation is better, and let me know in the comments. I would love to hear that. Did YouTube do better than me? I don't know. They probably did. They have lots of money. Anywho, all that said, love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Dice Quirk, out.